of the flight.
Welcome to Lessons Learned, the channel where we share tips on learning how to fly, how to become a pilot, incidents that happened and how we could potentially avoid them. And today we're standing in front of a now somewhat famous plane, the 152 of Rocky Mountain Flight School, and we're going to discuss the incident that happened, but more importantly, what can we do as pilots to avoid these kind of things. Right, so today we're going to talk about mountain flying based on the incident that happened on Independence Day. And yeah, our focus is not on trying to bash the pilot. I think he's had enough already of that.
Right.
But we're trying to focus on the lessons learned. So what can we learn as pilots? What can we learn as flight students on flying into the mountains? And I think an obvious one would be not to take a plane like this into the mountains. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your role here at the school.
Sure. My name is Matt Beyer, and I'm a flight instructor here at Rocky Mountain Flight School for about the last 13 years. And one of the areas I specialize in is our mountain training, so that we can get our students and our renters proficient, comfortable for heading west.
All right, Matt, this is your plane, I believe, is that right?
It is. So this is a Mooney Bravo. Today, let's go take a look at the Devil's Thumb area, which is just north of Rollins Pass.
Okay.
Let's first take a look at what 65440, where they were headed through Devil's Thumb.
Okay.
And we'll see how it looks inviting.
Right.
It's got a nice shape to it. It has some features. It's very pretty. But it's not as forgiving, and really not the ideal way to cross the pass.
All right, let's go fly, and we'll talk about more mountain flying while we fly.
Sounds
and
great.
See how the pass is looking today.
Sounds great.
Cool, let's go.
Our Mooney 1091 out, Alpha is now number 1, holding short 30 right westbound.
Hey, 1091 Alpha, Mr. Roger.
Hey, Tower 1091 Alpha, you can just do a runway heading departure all the way out.
Hey, 1091 Alpha, Mr. Roger. The preceding circuit is going to be a straight out departure for a while and then entering the left down. So if you start catching them, just offset to the right of them, please. Runway 30 right, clear for takeoff, on first proof.
Clear for takeoff 30 right. Runway heading will offset to the right of them, 1091 Alpha.
Clear drive 422, following access on a half
Mixture's
mile per hour,
going full
traffic on a
rich.
2 mile per hour land, curler runway.
Final
any
looks
other
clear.
traffic, correction, you're following Cherokee, runway 30 left, clear to land.
30 left, clear to land, crew track 422.
6 November Delta, runway 30
30
left,
right, it's our runway.
Runway 3.
Exedio Delta, cross runway 3526 November Delta. Bonanza 933 Whiskey Delta, number 1
Slowly
in the hold,
advance,
30 right.
turbo kick in.
Here's 933 Whiskey Delta, Metro Director. There's the 3 Whiskey Delta, traffic 1 mile south for the runway to Cherokee, runway 30 right, clear for
Airspeed's
takeoff,
alive,
runway heading.
engine looks good.
933 Whiskey Delta, clear to go, 30 right,
Traffic.
runway heading.
60 for 66.
Departure 08 kilo, left closed traffic is through.
Left close traffic approved, 909 08 kilo.
Suspect Foxtrot, turn base, change to runway 30 left, runway 30 left, clear to land.
30 base now, let's switch you over to 30 left, clear to land, 76 Foxtrot. Delta.
All right, I've got the traffic in front of me in sight. I think they're going to start their turn in a moment.
Suspect 1 over Delta Metro Tower, Roger, landing traffic.
You can clearly see that fire from here, yeah?
Oh, wow. All right, I'll take the propeller to 2400.
Archer 4632.
I'll reduce the power to 34 inches.
466 Fox, Metro Tower, Roger, number 3.
Now, it looks like Garmin certified quite some modern equipment for the Moonies.
Yeah,
Autopilot.
we've modified it a couple times, and we're really happy with this level of digital and instrumentation.
Yep.
Archer 62 Fox, right turn out.
That's a pretty healthy climb at this plane. We're climbing at 1,000 feet per minute, nearly.
1,000 feet per minute. I've been balancing the airspeed, the temperatures, and how quickly we want to climb. We're only at 6,000 or 7,700. Not exactly ready to enter the mountains. So what we'll do is we'll kind of stay on the outside of the mountains, get a little more altitude, and we'll
Okay.
proceed in. I think it's a good way to kind of get a feel for what the foothills will feel like.
Right.
We're getting beat up, lots of turbulence. We're
Yeah.
getting
All right, so let's talk about winds. You looked at the winds and they were
Skyhawk 529.
in our favor. What does it mean in the mountains?
Yeah, so the winds aloft, we have a few reporting points here in Colorado. We have Grand Junction, we have Denver, we have Pueblo. Grand Junction and Denver make really good data points for winds at a couple altitudes. Really for us, it's the 9,000 and the 12,000, and then certainly 18,000.
Right.
So looking at the direction the wind is coming from, looking at the velocity of the wind, and I'm looking for one is just general sustained winds. You know, anything in the low 20s is reasonable.
Right.
You might get a few bumps here and there, but that's very reasonable and typical at 9,000 feet and 12,000 feet.
Uh-huh.
Winds in the 30s, you're definitely going to get turbulence. You may get a pretty significant headwind, so it's going to obviously alter your time to get across. That may come with a wave or ups and downs.
Right.
So definitely in the 30s, my attention is up, and I may be thinking of alternative routes. You know, for us to go west today, Rollins Pass is the most convenient, it's the safest. However, if I'm really needing to get west, I can always go north, you know, to Cameron Pass, or even up closer towards Wyoming, where the terrain is much lower,
Right.
and continue west. So lots of options.
Okay.
So today I think I saw wind is from 250, and it's in the low 20s. And I did not see a significant change in velocity
Right.
or direction between 9,000, 12,000, and 18,000.
Right. And the wind is usually coming from the west to us, right?
Exactly. And it's also useful as we sometimes, you know, try to predict where we might find ups and downs. Right? If we think of the wind, if it were coming directly at our face, we might look at the windward side, getting that upslope.
Yep.
We pick up some lift. And then its evil brother on the other side, the leeward side being downdrafts.
Yep.
When you're coming down. So knowing where the wind is coming from can often help in avoiding downdrafts
Right.
and looking for lift. So right now we're headed direct to Devil's Thumb. And this is where 65440 was intending to cross. And as you can see from here, it has a low saddle, a little bit of snow. It looks really inviting as, that looks like a really low point to cross the
Right.
Continental Divide. But if you look just a mile to the left and a mile to the right, high terrain on the left, high terrain on the right. So it doesn't give you a lot of range for maneuvering.
Right. And is it typically a point you would pick if you come unprepared? Is that maybe what happened?
That could be. It could also be that it's pretty, right? Devil's Thumb has a promontory that's fun to look at. So it could be inviting for, the scenic aspect.
Right.
The other thing I don't love about crossing here on Devil's Thumb, and we're going to do it today for demonstration purposes only.
Right.
We've got turbo, we've got the weather is in our favor, and we're doing this for demonstration purposes only to show what it looks like. And maybe we'll see some extra bumps. But if you notice, the terrain to the right is quite rugged, a lot of sharp edges. And so that could really create the additional turbulence, downdrafts, rough air coming off. If you look, I don't know the distance, maybe 10 miles, 5 miles to the south, Rollins Pass, we'll look at the pass directly, but this whole area is low and really accommodating for maneuvering to the right or to the left if you need to.
Right.
So we're still climbing at 1,000 feet a minute. We're at 10,800. We'll go up to 13,000. We'll take a look at Devil's Thumb.
Go.
The audio had some glitches while we were filming how to fly.
Perfect
in the
demo.
mountains.
Something has to go wrong.
Yeah, exactly, as it happens. So let's just talk about how the flying went and what are the procedures to fly into these, the Devil's Thumb. What are some concerns flying it, and what are some tips on maybe avoiding it?
So we're talking about the route that was selected by 65440. And as we see from the video, Devil's Thumb looks really inviting.
Yeah.
It's about 11,700 feet. It's about the same altitude or semi-elevation as Rollins Pass. But what's unique about Devil's Thumb is it's really tight. It's a curve. It has a little Devil's Thumb, so it's pretty. It actually has snow on the edge.
Yeah.
So it's probably really inviting.
Right.
However, the dimensions of Devil's Thumb, although it's 11,700 feet, it's half a mile wide. So although from a distance it looks low, hey, let's shoot through that little pass. Certainly not the way to go.
Right.
Now, when we flew it, we did this on purpose for training purposes.
Yeah.
I think we were at 13,000 feet, and the conditions were great. We were turbocharged, and the canyon is really not forgiving for needing to turn to the left or to the right. One of the things we always do is always have an escape, always have an out.
Yep.
And once you get into this canyon area, you don't have a U-turn capability.
And let's say you had an engine failure right there, then which way would you turn?
Right, that depends, right? And that point changes pretty quick. If you are in that turn and something happens, engine failure or some reason to divert or land or force landing, continuing that turn, it's just lower terrain all the way out to the flatlands here.
Yep.
If you're at the pass, it's an interesting situation. There's low terrain on both sides, and your brain might think of what's the easiest way to get out. For this particular pass, one idea might be to continue the crossing. Because as you get into the crossing, you have Winter Park and Fraser, you have maybe a higher likelihood of hiking out.
Right.
So some other things to consider.
Many people who are not experienced pilots think that an emergency means you die, but 90-something% of emergencies are survivable, right? It's mainly keep flying that plane all the way into the ground, or into the trees, or into a lake. There are many options out there that are very survivable.
Right. There's a lot of times I think I see people focused on saving the airplane.
Right.
And making decisions about where they're going to put down based on the airplane survivability. So I could see a tendency for folks to want to stay on this side of the Continental Divide. It's closer to home, we'll get the pickup truck, do whatever, versus all the way on the Winter Park side. So it really does, where to let down really does change as you progress.
Right.
If you've crossed the pass and you have an engine loss, you won't have sufficient margin of altitude to get back to the east side.
Right.
So just because that would be maybe more convenient for extracting the airplane, stick to lower terrain.
Right. And obviously lower terrain gives you also more time, right? Because you'll be able to keep going at it.
Right.
And maybe your engine's going to restart. Maybe you can figure things out. Maybe it was carb icing and you get to that. But if you try to land at higher terrain, you have less time. This is going to be quite immediate.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, what are other general tips for people new to mountain flying? I would say, number one, get properly trained, and that's why you're specialized at this school in doing the mountain training, and you train other instructors as well. Mm-hmm. So, number one, get trained. Let's say you got the training. Then what's next, in your opinion?
So, two things. One, part of the training is the diversity in what you experience. I think of the mountains in sections. Getting trained back and forth to Steamboat, excellent adventure, but that doesn't prepare you for real high terrain and all the 14,000 foot mountains like Dillon and Breckenridge or Aspen, Eagle.
Right.
So back and forth to something like Granby, Kremling, Steamboat, Craig Hayden, excellent experience, but doesn't prepare you for the rest of Colorado. And so I like to see people, get some experience in some of the different areas.
Right.
The more mountain passes, the more airports. Airports are very challenging because they usually don't support normal traffic patterns.
Right.
So getting into some challenging airports with an instructor, and then, go check out the mountains on your own after you've been trained.
Yeah. Well, hopefully our students and viewers from Rocky Mountain Flight School have learned something. And maybe we'll be back with more videos.
Sounds great. Looking forward to it.
Thanks for watching today's episode. If you would like specific topics to be covered, feel free to post in the comments below. And if you want to see more of this, then feel free to subscribe to this channel.